What if the reason people misunderstand you, ignore you, or fail to connect with you has nothing to do with your intelligence, looks, or success, but everything to do with how you communicate? Most people go through life without ever learning how to truly read others, build trust, or understand hidden human behavior. In the powerful book Rapport, The 4 Ways to Read People, former behavior experts reveal the psychological patterns that secretly control conversations, relationships, leadership, confidence, and influence. In this audiobook summary, you will discover how to instantly understand different personality types, why some people naturally attract trust and respect, how conflict begins, and the exact communication techniques used to create deep human connection. This is not just a book about talking to people. It is a guide to decoding human behavior in everyday life. Whether you want to improve relationships, become more confident socially, succeed in business, or simply understand people better, this video is designed for you. Stay until the end, because every chapter contains practical lessons that can completely change the way you interact with family, friends, co-workers, and even strangers. Once you understand the hidden rules behind human behavior, you will never see conversations the same way again. The chapter, The Key to Communication, begins with a powerful idea that most people completely misunderstand communication. Many believe communication is simply about speaking clearly, using the right words, or sounding intelligent. But the book argues that true communication is not about what you say. It is about what the other person feels when they are around you. You can explain something perfectly and still fail to connect with someone emotionally. This is why two people can hear the exact same sentence but react in completely different ways. Communication is deeply connected to emotion, trust, safety, and perception. The authors explain that before people listen to your words, they unconsciously decide whether they trust you, fear you, respect you, or feel comfortable around you. In other words, people respond to feelings first and logic second. Think about a situation where you tried to give advice to a friend, but instead of appreciating it, they became defensive or irritated. Maybe your intention was good, but your tone, body language, or timing made them feel judged instead of understood. On the other hand, have you ever met someone who made you feel comfortable within minutes even though they did not say anything extraordinary? That is the hidden power of rapport. The book explains that strong communication is not built through manipulation or memorized tricks. It is built when another person feels psychologically safe in your presence. The authors use years of behavioral analysis and real-world negotiation experience to explain how people constantly send emotional signals without realizing it. Every conversation becomes an invisible exchange of energy, tone, posture, eye contact, confidence, fear, and intention. Sometimes people say, "I'm fine," while their crossed arms, lowered voice, and lack of eye contact reveal the complete opposite. Great communicators learn to notice these signals instead of focusing only on words. This is one reason why misunderstandings happen so often in relationships, workplaces, and families. People listen to sentences but ignore emotions. Imagine a manager at work who constantly complains that employees do not listen to him. He gives instructions clearly, works hard, and expects respect. But every time he speaks, his tone sounds aggressive and impatient. Employees begin to fear making mistakes around him, so instead of communicating openly, they stay silent. The manager thinks the problem is incompetence, but the real problem is emotional atmosphere. The book teaches that communication is not just information transfer, it is emotional influence. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget your exact words. The chapter also explains how human beings naturally mirror each other. If someone speaks calmly and listens carefully, the other person often becomes calmer too. If someone enters a room with tension, anger, or arrogance, that emotional state spreads quickly. This is why emotionally intelligent people can change the atmosphere of a conversation without saying much. The authors encourage readers to become observers of human behavior rather than reactive participants. Instead of immediately defending yourself during disagreement, notice the other person's emotional state first. Ask yourself, what are they feeling right now? That single question can completely transform the way you communicate. One of the most interesting ideas in this chapter is that people often communicate from survival instincts without realizing it. Some become aggressive when stressed. Some become quiet and withdrawn. Others try to control conversations to feel safe. Many arguments are not actually about the topic being discussed. They are emotional reactions hidden behind words. For example, A husband and wife may appear to argue about household chores, but underneath the conflict may be feelings of being ignored, unappreciated, or emotionally disconnected. The book teaches readers to look beneath surface-level conversations and understand the emotional needs driving behavior. The chapter also challenges viewers to think about their own communication habits. Do you truly listen, or do you simply wait for your turn to speak? When someone disagrees with you, do you become defensive immediately? Do people feel relaxed around you, or pressured? Are you trying to understand others, or trying to win every conversation? These reflective questions are important because self-awareness is a foundation of better relationships. Most communication problems begin when people focus entirely on changing others while ignoring their own behavior. Another valuable lesson from this chapter is the importance of curiosity. Great communicators are curious about people instead of judgmental toward them. Imagine meeting someone who is rude or impatient. Most people instantly react emotionally and label them as difficult. But the book encourages a different approach. What if that person is stressed, insecure, exhausted, or dealing with pain you cannot see? This shift in mindset creates empathy, and empathy strengthens rapport. The moment people feel understood instead of attacked, conversations become more honest and productive. The authors also explain that communication skills affect nearly every area of life. A student who understands rapport can build better friendships and confidence. A business owner can earn customer trust faster. A parent can build stronger emotional connection with children. A leader can inspire instead of intimidate. Even small changes like improving eye contact, listening carefully, slowing your speech, or asking thoughtful questions can dramatically improve human connection over time. Perhaps the biggest takeaway from the key to communication is that communication is not a performance. It is not about pretending to be confident or using fake techniques to impress people. Real communication begins when people feel seen, heard, respected, and emotionally safe. The strongest communicators are not always the loudest or smartest people in the room. Often, they are the people who make others feel comfortable enough to be themselves. Main points. A communication is more about emotional connection than perfect words. People respond to feelings first and logic second. Tone, body language, eye contact, and emotional energy matter deeply. Great communicators observe emotions instead of reacting instantly. Most conflicts are driven by hidden emotional needs, not surface-level arguments. A psychological safety builds trust and stronger relationships. A curiosity and empathy improve conversations more than judgment does. A small communication habits can completely change relationships over time. Reflective question. Do people feel understood when they talk to you? Reflective question. Are you listening to respond, or listening to truly understand? Reflective question. What emotional atmosphere do you create around others? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. During your next conversation, focus completely on understanding the other person instead of planning your response. Pay attention to body language and emotional tone, not just words. Before reacting emotionally during conflict, pause and ask yourself what the other person may actually be feeling underneath their words. Practice speaking calmly and slowly during stressful situations. Ask more open-ended questions to make people feel heard and respected. Observe how your emotional state affects people around you. Try to create comfort and safety in conversations rather than trying to dominate or win them. The chapter Meaningful Relationships explores one of the deepest human desires, the need to feel understood, valued, and emotionally connected to other people. The book explains that most relationships do not fail because people are bad or incompatible. They fail because people stop truly seeing each other. Over time, conversations become mechanical, assumptions replace curiosity, and emotional distance quietly grows without anyone noticing. Many people spend years talking to friends, partners, co-workers, or family members without ever learning how to create genuine emotional connection. This chapter argues that meaningful relationships are not built by luck. They are built intentionally through trust, emotional awareness, listening, empathy, and consistent behavior. One of the most powerful ideas in this chapter is that people rarely remember every word you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. Think about someone in your own life who made you feel safe, respected, and accepted. Maybe it was a teacher who listened patiently when nobody else did. Maybe it was a friend who stayed calm while you were overwhelmed. Maybe it was a family member who made you feel important during difficult moments. Those people leave lasting emotional memories because they created emotional security. According to the book, meaningful relationships begin when people feel emotionally safe enough to be honest without fear of judgment or rejection. The authors explain that many relationships slowly weaken because people communicate only on the surface level. Couples talk about bills, schedules, chores, and responsibilities, but stop talking about fears, dreams, insecurities, and emotions. Friends continue texting memes and jokes, but avoid vulnerable conversations. Parents ask children about grades, but rarely ask how they are feeling emotionally. Over time, people can become physically close but emotionally distant. This emotional disconnect often creates loneliness even when surrounded by others. Imagine a husband who works long hours every day to provide for his family. In his mind, he is showing love through responsibility and sacrifice. But his wife feels emotionally disconnected because he rarely listens deeply or spends meaningful time with her. Meanwhile, the husband feels unappreciated because he believes his efforts go unnoticed. Neither person is truly wrong. The problem is that both are expressing and receiving connection differently. The book teaches that meaningful relationships require understanding not only your own emotional needs but also the emotional language of others. Another important lesson in this chapter is the role of listening. Most people think listening means staying silent while another person speaks. But true listening means giving someone your full emotional attention. It means noticing tone, pauses, hesitation, facial expressions, and emotions hidden behind words. The authors explain that many people do not actually want solutions immediately. Sometimes they simply want to feel heard and understood. Imagine a friend telling you about a stressful situation at work. Instead of instantly giving advice, what happens if you first say, "That sounds exhausting. I can understand why you feel overwhelmed." In many cases, that emotional validation creates stronger connection than any practical solution. The chapter also explores how fear quietly damages relationships. People fear rejection, embarrassment, abandonment, criticism, or vulnerability. Because of these fears, they hide parts of themselves. Some become emotionally distant. Others become overly defensive or controlling. Some avoid difficult conversations completely. The book explains that behind many unhealthy behaviors lies a person trying to protect themselves emotionally. For example, a person who becomes angry during arguments may actually be afraid of losing control or feeling weak. Someone who avoids emotional conversations may have learned from childhood that vulnerability leads to pain. Understanding these hidden fears helps people become more compassionate instead of reactive. The authors also discuss how modern life makes meaningful relationships harder than ever. People spend hours online but struggle with real emotional connection. Many conversations are rushed, distracted, or shallow. Someone may sit beside family members while mentally scrolling through social media. Friends may communicate daily through messages but never discuss what truly matters. The book challenges readers to ask themselves a difficult question. When was the last time you made someone feel deeply heard without distraction? That question forces people to recognize how rare genuine attention has become. One fascinating part of this chapter is the idea that trust is built in very small moments. Trust is not created through one dramatic action. It grows slowly through consistency. Returning calls, keeping promises, remembering small details, listening carefully, and showing emotional reliability all strengthen relationships over time. Likewise, trust can slowly disappear through repeated small disappointments. A parent who constantly dismisses a child's emotions may unintentionally teach the child that their feelings do not matter. A friend who only contacts you when they need help may weaken the relationship without realizing it. The book reminds readers that relationships are constantly shaped by everyday behavior. The chapter also explains that healthy relationships require emotional flexibility. Many people unconsciously expect others to think, react, or communicate exactly like themselves. But meaningful connection grows when people adapt to each other. Some people need verbal reassurance. Others value actions more than words. Some need space during stress, while others need closeness. Strong relationships come from learning how different people experience emotion and connection. This is why emotional intelligence is more important than simply being charismatic or persuasive. A particularly relatable example is a workplace. Imagine two co-workers constantly misunderstanding each other. One communicates directly and quickly, focusing only on efficiency. The other values warmth, politeness, and emotional tone. Neither person intends conflict, but their communication styles clash repeatedly. Without awareness, both may assume the other person is rude or incompetent. But once they understand each other's communication style, tension decreases dramatically. This example shows how meaningful relationships are not only important in personal life, but also in leadership, teamwork, and professional success. The authors repeatedly emphasize that meaningful relationships require courage. Real connection involves honesty, vulnerability, accountability, and emotional openness. It means admitting when you are wrong, expressing appreciation openly, asking difficult questions, and sometimes having uncomfortable conversations instead of avoiding them. Many people desire deep relationships while simultaneously avoiding the vulnerability required to create them. The book challenges readers to stop protecting their ego at the cost of connection. As the chapter progresses, readers begin to understand that meaningful relationships are less about finding perfect people and more about learning how to communicate with humanity, patience, and awareness. Even small improvements in emotional presence can dramatically improve relationships. Making eye contact during conversations, putting away distractions, asking thoughtful questions, acknowledging emotions, and becoming less judgmental can transform the way people experience you. The chapter ends with an important truth. Every human being wants to feel significant. People want to feel heard, respected, appreciated, and emotionally safe. When you learn how to offer those feelings genuinely, your relationships become stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. Communication then becomes more than exchanging words. It becomes a process of making another person feel understood. Main points. Meaningful relationships are built through emotional connection, not surface-level communication. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Emotional safety allows honesty and deeper trust. Many relationships weaken because people stop truly listening and understanding each other. True listening involves emotional attention, not just silence. Hidden fears often drive unhealthy relationship behaviors. Trust grows through small, consistent actions over time. Different people communicate and receive love differently. Emotional intelligence strengthens both personal and professional relationships. Vulnerability and honesty are necessary for deep connection. Reflective questions. Do the people around you feel emotionally safe with you? When someone talks to you, are you truly listening or waiting for your turn to speak? Are your relationships emotionally deep or only based on routine conversations? What small habits might be weakening trust in your relationships without you realizing it? When was the last time you made someone feel genuinely heard and understood? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. During conversations, remove distractions and give full attention to the other person. Practice validating emotions before offering advice. Ask deeper questions instead of staying only on surface-level topics. Notice how different people prefer to communicate and adapt accordingly. Build trust through consistency, honesty, and reliability. Express appreciation more openly to friends, family, and co-workers. Have difficult conversations calmly instead of avoiding them. Focus less on winning arguments and more on understanding emotions. Create emotional safety by listening without immediate judgment or criticism. Spend more time understanding people rather than assuming you already know them. The chapter Why Words Matter dives into one of the most underestimated powers in human life, the ability of words to shape emotions, relationships, confidence, identity, and even reality itself. Most people speak thousands of words every single day without ever stopping to think about the impact those words have on others. The book argues that words are never just words. Every sentence carries emotional weight. A few careless words can destroy trust built over years, while the right word spoken at the right moment can completely change someone's life. Communication is not only about transferring information, it is about influencing emotions, shaping perception, and creating psychological reactions. The authors explain that human beings are constantly interpreting the meaning behind words, even when those meanings are unintentional. Two people can say the exact same sentence but create entirely different emotional reactions depending on tone, timing, intention, and context. For example, imagine a manager saying to an employee, "You need to improve." If spoken with encouragement and support, the employee may feel motivated to grow. But if spoken with irritation or sarcasm, the same sentence may create insecurity, resentment, or fear. This chapter teaches that words are powerful because they do more than communicate thoughts. They shape emotional experiences. One of the most fascinating ideas in this chapter is that people often remember emotional moments tied to words for years, sometimes even for life. Think about how a teacher's criticism during childhood may still affect someone's confidence decades later. A parent casually saying you'll never succeed if you keep acting like this can become an internal voice repeated inside a person's mind for years. On the other hand, a simple sentence like, "I believe in you," spoken during a difficult period can give someone strength they never forget. The book emphasizes that language can either build people up or quietly damage them over time. The authors also explain that words reveal much more about a person than most people realize. The language people use often exposes their emotional state, fears, confidence level, mindset, and intentions. Someone who constantly says things like "nothing ever works out for me" or "people can't be trusted" may unknowingly reveal deeper beliefs shaping their life. Likewise, people who communicate with empathy, calmness, and emotional awareness often create stronger relationships because their words make others feel respected and safe. Imagine a couple having an argument after a stressful day. One partner says, "You never care about me." Immediately, the conversation becomes emotionally explosive because a word never turns a specific problem into a total attack on character. The other person becomes defensive, and the argument escalates. But imagine if the sentence changed to, "Lately I've been feeling emotionally distant from you, and I miss our connection." The emotional atmosphere changes completely. The second statement invites understanding instead of defensiveness. This example perfectly illustrates the chapter's message. The way something is said often matters more than the topic itself. The book also explores how negative language affects human psychology. Many people speak harshly to themselves without realizing the long-term damage it causes. Internal dialogue shapes self-esteem, motivation, and emotional resilience. Someone who constantly says, "I'm terrible at this," "I always fail," or "nobody likes me" gradually trains their brain to accept those beliefs as reality. The authors encourage readers to pay attention not only to how they speak to others, but also how they speak to themselves. Self-communication becomes a foundation of confidence and emotional stability. One powerful anecdote discussed in the chapter involved high-pressure negotiations and conflict situations. The authors explain that during tense moments, emotionally charged words can either calm people down or completely destroy communication. In hostage negotiation scenarios, investigators avoid aggressive language because people under stress react strongly to emotional triggers. A single threatening phrase can increase fear and resistance, while calm, respectful wording can slowly reduce tension. Although most viewers will never experience hostage negotiation, the same psychological principles apply in daily life. During arguments, emotional conversations, or stressful situations, people often escalate conflict unintentionally through careless wording. The chapter also discusses labels and how dangerous they can become. When people repeatedly label themselves or others in negative ways, those labels influence behavior. Imagine a child constantly hearing, "You're lazy," "You're difficult," or "You're not smart enough." Over time, the child may begin acting according to those labels because identity shapes behavior. The same thing happens in adult relationships. Calling someone selfish, useless, or weak repeatedly damages emotional trust and self-worth. The book challenges readers to become more intentional with language because words often become emotional programming. Another interesting concept is the hidden meaning people search for during conversations. Human beings are constantly asking emotional questions beneath the surface. Do you respect me? Am I safe with you? Do I matter to you? Will you judge me? Can I trust you? Your choice of words answers those questions even when you are unaware of it. For example, interrupting someone repeatedly may silently communicate, "Your thoughts are not important." Mocking someone's feelings may communicate, "You are not emotionally safe with me." But listening carefully and responding thoughtfully communicates respect and emotional presence. The authors also explain why emotionally intelligent people choose words carefully during difficult conversations. They understand that emotional reactions are often stronger than logical reasoning. Imagine a parent trying to motivate a teenager struggling in school. Constant criticism may create shame and resistance, even if the parent has good intentions. But supportive language combined with accountability creates growth more effectively. Saying, "I know you're capable of more, and I want to help you improve," feels completely different from you're disappointing everyone. Both address the same issue, but one builds confidence while the other damages it. The chapter repeatedly reminds readers that communication is not about controlling people. It is about creating understanding. The goal is not manipulation, but emotional clarity. Great communicators understand how language affects emotions and use words responsibly. They know when to stay calm, when to encourage, when to apologize, and when silence is more powerful than speaking. Another relatable example is social media communication. Many people write comments, messages, or posts without considering emotional impact because screens create emotional distance. Sarcasm, criticism, and negativity spread rapidly online because people forget there's a real human being on the other side. The book encourages readers to communicate online with the same emotional awareness they would use face-to-face. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that words shape relationships, careers, self-image, leadership, parenting, and emotional health. A leader's words can inspire teams during difficult times. A friend's words can comfort someone struggling silently. A partner's words can strengthen emotional intimacy or destroy it slowly over time. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to either build trust or weaken it. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Language is one of the most important tools human beings possess. Word can heal, encourage, motivate, connect, teach, destroy, divide, inspire, or transform. Once people become conscious of the emotional power behind language, they begin communicating with greater awareness and responsibility. The way you speak to people eventually becomes part of how they experience life itself. Main points. Words carry emotional power and shape human experiences. Communication is about emotional impact, not only information. Tone, timing, and wording can completely change reactions. Careless language can damage trust, confidence, and relationships. Encouraging word can positively affect someone for years. Negative self-talk shapes self-esteem and mindset. Labels strongly influence identity and behavior. Emotionally intelligent communication reduces conflict and builds trust. People constantly search for emotional meaning behind conversations. Language can either create safety or emotional defensiveness. Reflective questions. How do your words make people feel after conversations with you? Do you speak to yourself with encouragement or constant criticism? Or are your conversations creating emotional safety or emotional tension? What labels have you accepted about yourself from past experiences? During conflict, do your words calm situations or escalate them? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Pay attention to tone and emotional delivery, not just content. Replace harsh criticism with constructive and respectful communication. Avoid extreme words like always and never during disagreements. Practice positive self-talk and challenge negative internal language. Listen carefully before reacting emotionally in conversations. Use words that validate emotions instead of dismissing them. Encourage people more openly and sincerely. Before speaking during conflict, ask yourself, will these words build understanding or create damage? Become more conscious of labels you use for yourself and others. Remember that small comments can leave lasting emotional effects on people. The chapter, The Cornerstones of Rapport, explores the hidden foundations behind trust, influence, emotional connection, and successful communication. Most people assume rapport is something natural that either happens automatically or does not happen at all. They believe some people are simply charismatic while others are awkward. But this chapter completely challenges that idea. The authors explain that rapport is not magic, luck, or personality alone. It is a skill built through specific behaviors, emotional awareness, and psychological understanding. Once you understand the cornerstones of rapport, you begin seeing human interaction differently. You realize why certain people instantly make others feel safe, respected, and connected, while others create tension without even realizing it. The chapter begins with a simple but powerful truth. People trust people who make them feel understood. Human beings are emotionally driven creatures. Before someone accepts your opinion, leadership, advice, or presence, they unconsciously ask themselves emotional questions. Is this person safe? Do they respect me? Will they judge me? Can I relax around them? Most communication failures happen because people focus entirely on delivering information while ignoring emotional connection. The authors argue that rapport begins not with speaking but with emotional alignment. One of the first cornerstones discussed is attention. Genuine attention has become extremely rare in modern life. Many people pretend to listen while mentally checking notifications, preparing responses, or thinking about themselves. The chapter explains that people can sense when attention is fake. Imagine talking to someone who keeps glancing at their phone every few seconds. Even if they occasionally nod and say, "yeah," you immediately feel less important. Now compare that to someone who maintains eye contact, listens carefully, notices your emotions, and responds thoughtfully. The emotional experience feels completely different. The second person creates rapport because they make you feel psychologically present and valued. The authors explain that attention is one of the strongest forms of respect. In many relationships, emotional distance begins not because of dramatic conflict, but because people slowly stop paying real attention to each other. Parents become distracted while children are talking. Partners stop listening deeply after years together. Friends communicate only through quick messages and surface-level conversation. Over time, people stop feeling emotionally seen. This is why one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to improve relationships is to become fully present during conversations. Another cornerstone of rapport discussed in this chapter is empathy. But the book makes an important distinction. Empathy is not agreement. You do not need to agree with someone's choices or opinions to understand their emotional experience. Many conflicts become worse because people immediately defend themselves instead of first acknowledging emotions. Imagine a teenager telling a parent, "You never understand me." A defensive parent might respond instantly with anger. "After everything I do for you, how can you say that?" But an empathetic response could be, "It sounds like you've been feeling unheard lately." That small shift completely changes the emotional atmosphere. The second response lowers emotional tension because a teenager feels emotionally recognized instead of attacked. The chapter also explores the importance of consistency in building rapport. Trust is not created through dramatic speeches or occasional acts of kindness. It is built slowly through repeated emotional reliability. People trust those who behave consistently over time. If someone is kind one day and emotionally unpredictable the next, others begin feeling unsafe around them. Imagine a boss who sometimes encourages employees but other times humiliates them publicly when stressed. Employees become anxious because they never know which version of that person they will encounter. Emotional inconsistency weakens rapport because people crave predictability and safety in relationships. The authors provide fascinating insights into body language and emotional signals. Human beings constantly communicate without words. Facial expressions, posture, voice tone, eye contact, and even silence send powerful psychological messages. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. Before they say much, your brain is already analyzing whether they seem confident, aggressive, nervous, warm, distant, or trustworthy. The book explains that rapport is heavily influenced by these nonverbal signals because humans evolved to detect emotional safety long before spoken language became advanced. One interesting hypothetical example described in the chapter involves two job interviews. In the first interview, the candidate speaks confidently but appears distracted, impatient, and emotionally disconnected. In the second interview, the candidate speaks calmly, listens carefully, mirrors the interviewer's energy naturally, and responds thoughtfully. Even if both candidates have similar qualifications, the second person often leaves a much stronger impression because rapport creates emotional comfort. This example demonstrates that success in life is not based only on intelligence or technical ability. Emotional connection plays a massive role in human decision-making. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of authenticity. Many people try to force rapport through manipulation, fake friendliness, or rehearse social tricks. But humans are surprisingly good at detecting insincerity. The authors argue that true rapport cannot exist without genuine intention. People trust authenticity because authentic behavior feels emotionally stable and believable. Imagine a salesperson using overly scripted enthusiasm to appear friendly. Most customers instinctively sense a performance and become guarded. But a calm, sincere conversation creates comfort and openness. This lesson applies not only to business but to friendships, dating, parenting, leadership, and everyday life. Another cornerstone explored deeply is emotional regulation. The book explains that people with strong rapport skills remain emotionally grounded even during stressful conversations. They do not instantly explode with anger, panic, or defensiveness. Instead, they manage their emotional reactions carefully because emotional states spread rapidly between people. If one person becomes aggressive, Others often mirror that tension unconsciously. But when someone remains calm under pressure, it can stabilize the entire interaction. Think about a doctor calmly speaking during an emergency or a teacher staying patient while students panic. Emotional stability creates trust because people feel safer around emotionally controlled individuals. The chapter also discusses the role of curiosity in human connection. Great communicators are genuinely curious about others. They ask thoughtful questions, observe behavior carefully, and avoid jumping to conclusions too quickly. Many people damage rapport because they assume they already understand others completely. But curiosity keeps conversations alive and meaningful. Imagine meeting someone from a completely different background or personality type. A judgmental person may shut down emotionally, but a curious person becomes interested in learning how that individual thinks and experiences life. Curiosity transformed conversations from debates into opportunities for connection. One particularly powerful section of the chapter explains that rapport often grows strongest during moments of vulnerability. People feel deeply connected to those who make them feel emotionally accepted rather than judged. For example, imagine someone admitting insecurity, fear, or failure during conversation. A dismissive response may damage trust immediately, but a compassionate response strengthens emotional connection because vulnerability met with empathy creates safety. This is why people often become closer after honest emotional conversations than after years of surface-level interaction. The authors repeatedly remind readers that rapport is not about controlling people. It is about understanding human psychology well enough to create emotional comfort, trust, and openness. This understanding becomes useful in every area of life: relationships, parenting, leadership, friendships, teamwork, negotiations, networking, and even conflict resolution. People who master rapport often appear naturally charismatic, but in reality, they simply understand how human emotions work. As the chapter progresses, readers begin realizing how many daily problems are actually rapport problems in disguise. Workplace tension, relationship conflicts, parenting struggles, customer dissatisfaction, social awkwardness, and leadership failures often come from emotional disconnection rather than lack of intelligence. The ability to make people feel respected, heard, and emotionally safe becomes one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Rapport is not built through perfection. It is built through emotional presence, empathy, consistency, curiosity, and authenticity. People do not need you to be flawless. They need to feel understood around you. Once someone feels emotionally safe with you, communication becomes easier, trust grows naturally, and relationships become stronger. Main points. A rapport is a skill built through emotional understanding and behavior. People trust those who make them feel understood and emotionally safe. A genuine attention creates strong emotional connection. Empathy means understanding emotions, not necessarily agreeing. Consistency builds trust over time. A body language and emotional signals strongly affect communication. Authenticity creates stronger rapport than manipulation or fake charm. Emotional regulation helps calm difficult situations. Curiosity strengthens human connection and reduces judgment. Vulnerability combined with empathy deepens relationships. Reflective questions. Do people feel fully heard when they talk to you? Or are you emotionally present during conversations or mentally distracted? How do your tone, posture, and body language affect others? Do you react emotionally during conflict or stay emotionally grounded? Are your relationships based on genuine understanding or surface-level interaction? Do people feel emotionally safe enough to be honest around you? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Practice giving full attention during conversations without distractions. A focus on understanding emotions before responding logically. Use calm body language and tone during stressful situations. Become more consistent in how you treat people emotionally. Ask thoughtful questions instead of making assumptions. Practice empathy by acknowledging feelings before offering advice. Avoid fake enthusiasm or forced friendliness. Focus on authenticity. Observe nonverbal signals such as facial expressions and tone carefully. Stay emotionally calm during disagreements to reduce tension. Make people feel respected, heard, and emotionally safe in your presence. The chapter What Lies Beneath takes the reader deeper into the hidden psychological world that exists underneath everyday conversations, behaviors, and human reactions. Up until this point in the book, the authors have explained how communication, rapport, and emotional connection work on the surface. But this chapter reveals something even more important. Most human behavior is driven by emotions, fears, instincts, and experiences that people themselves may not fully understand. In other words, what people say is often only a small part of the real story. Beneath words lies a deeper emotional reality quietly influencing every interaction. The authors explain that human beings are constantly reacting to invisible emotional triggers shaped by childhood experiences, fears, insecurities, social conditioning, past trauma, and survival instincts. Most people walk through life believing they are acting logically, but in reality, emotions silently drive many of their decisions, reactions, and communication patterns. This is why two people can experience the same situation and react completely differently. One person may become defensive during criticism, while another remains calm. One person may avoid conflict entirely, while another becomes aggressive instantly. These reactions often come from emotional patterns buried beneath conscious awareness. Imagine a workplace scenario where a manager gives constructive feedback to two employees. One employee listens calmly, asks questions, and tries to improve. The second employee becomes emotionally upset, defensive, or angry. On the surface, both receive the same feedback. But beneath the surface, the second employee may unconsciously connect criticism with feelings of rejection, failure, or childhood experiences of being judged harshly. The book argues that if we only focus on visible behavior, we misunderstand people. To truly understand communication, we must understand what lies underneath emotional reactions. One of the most fascinating ideas in this chapter is that people are constantly trying to protect themselves emotionally, even when they do not realize it. Some people protect themselves through anger. Others protect themselves through silence, humor, control, avoidance, or people-pleasing behavior. The authors explain that many behaviors society labels as difficult, cold, rude, or overly emotional are often emotional defense mechanisms developed over years. For example, someone who constantly interrupts others may not simply be arrogant. They may unconsciously fear losing control or not being heard. Someone who avoids emotional conversations may not lack care. They may fear vulnerability because vulnerability once led to pain. The chapter challenges readers to stop judging behavior only from the outside. Instead of asking, "Why is this person acting like this?" the authors encourage a more powerful question: what emotional experience might be causing this behavior? That shift changes everything. It transforms frustration into understanding and conflict into curiosity. A relatable example described in the chapter involves relationships. Imagine a couple arguing repeatedly about small things like texting frequency or spending time together. On the surface, the conflict appears trivial, but underneath, one partner may fear abandonment while the other fears losing independence or control. The actual argument is not about messages or schedules. It is about emotional needs hidden beneath the conversation. The authors explain that many people spend years fighting symptoms while never understanding the deeper emotional causes underneath their conflicts. The chapter also explores the role of past experiences in shaping present behavior. Human beings carry emotional memories into future relationships and situations. Someone betrayed in the past may struggle to trust new people even when no real danger exists. Someone constantly criticized during childhood may become extremely sensitive to feedback as an adult. A person raised in a chaotic household may feel uncomfortable in calm emotional environments because chaos feels familiar to their nervous system. The book explains that many emotional reactions are automatic survival responses learned long ago. One particularly powerful anecdote in the chapter describes how people often misinterpret emotional protection as personality. For example, someone who appears emotionally distant may actually care deeply but learned over time that emotional openness leads to disappointment. Another person may constantly joke during serious conversations not because they lack seriousness, but because humor became their coping mechanism for emotional discomfort. These insights encourage readers to look beyond labels and understand the emotional history shaping people's behavior. The authors also explain the biological side of human reactions. The human brain evolved to prioritize survival, not perfect communication. This means the brain constantly scans for emotional danger, rejection, humiliation, embarrassment, disrespect, abandonment, or conflict. When people feel emotionally threatened, rational thinking often decreases while emotional reactions increase. This explains why calm conversations can suddenly become emotionally explosive. Once someone feels psychologically unsafe, their survival instincts take over. Imagine a simple disagreement between co-workers. One person says, "I think your presentation could have been clearer." Logically, this is mild feedback, but emotionally, the other person may hear, "You are incompetent." Their nervous system reacts defensively before logic even fully processes a statement. The book emphasizes that understanding emotional triggers helps people communicate more effectively because they begin recognizing that reactions are rarely only about the present moment. Another key lesson in this chapter is that self-awareness is essential for healthy relationships and communication. Most people spend their lives analyzing others without understanding themselves. The authors encourage readers to examine their own emotional patterns honestly. What situations trigger defensiveness in you? Why do certain comments affect you more deeply than others? Do you avoid conflict because you fear rejection? Do you become controlling when anxious? Do you shut down emotionally when stressed? These reflective questions are uncomfortable but necessary because hidden emotional patterns continue controlling behavior until they are recognized consciously. The chapter also explains how emotional awareness creates empathy. When you understand that people are often reacting from hidden fears or pain, it becomes easy to stay calm during difficult interactions. This does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but it allows you to respond with understanding rather than pure emotional reaction. Imagine a customer yelling angrily at an employee in a store. Most people immediately see aggression, but beneath that anger may be stress, grief, fear, exhaustion, or personal struggles unrelated to the situation itself. Recognizing emotional depth changes how we respond to people. The authors repeatedly remind readers that emotional intelligence is not about becoming emotionally perfect. It is about becoming emotionally conscious. People who understand what lies beneath behavior become better communicators because they stop reacting only to surface-level words and actions. They begin noticing emotional patterns, insecurities, motivations, and fears hidden underneath conversations. Another compelling idea in the chapter is that emotional honesty creates freedom. Many people spend years pretending to be emotionally fine while silently struggling with insecurity, loneliness, resentment, or fear. The problem with emotional suppression is that buried emotions often leak into behavior indirectly through sarcasm, anger, withdrawal, passive aggression, or emotional numbness. The authors explain that understanding yourself emotionally is one of the most important parts of understanding others. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that the real power of rapport comes from seeing people beyond their surface behavior. Truly skilled communicators understand that every person carries an invisible emotional world shaped by experiences, fears, needs, and survival instincts. When you learn to recognize this hidden layer of humanity, conversations become less judgmental and more compassionate. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Beneath every behavior lies an emotional story. Some people hide fear behind confidence. Some hide loneliness behind humor. Some hide pain behind anger. Some hide insecurity behind control. Once you begin looking beneath the surface, you stop seeing people as simply difficult or easy and start understanding them as emotionally complex human beings trying to protect themselves, connect with others, and feel safe in the world. Main points. Most human behavior is driven by hidden emotions and subconscious patterns. Emotional reactions are often shaped by past experiences and survival instincts. People protect themselves emotionally in different ways such as anger, silence, control, or humor. Surface-level behavior rarely reveals the full emotional story. Emotional triggers strongly affect communication and relationships. The brain prioritizes emotional safety and survival. Understanding hidden emotional needs improves empathy and communication. Self-awareness is essential for emotional intelligence. Suppressed emotions often appear indirectly through unhealthy behavior. Looking beneath behavior creates compassion instead of judgment. Reflective questions. What emotional situations trigger strong reactions in you? Do you protect yourself emotionally through anger, silence, humor, avoidance, or control? What past experiences may still influence your current relationships? Are you reacting to the present moment or to emotional memory from past? How often do you try to understand the emotions beneath someone's behavior? What hidden fears or insecurities may be shaping your communication style? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Before reacting emotionally, pause and ask what deeper emotion may be driving the situation. Practice observing behavior with curiosity instead of immediate judgment. Reflect on your own emotional patterns and triggers honestly. Learn to identify emotional defense mechanisms in yourself and others. During conflict, focus on understanding emotional needs beneath the argument. Become more aware of how past experiences affect present reactions. Practice emotional honesty instead of suppressing feelings constantly. Stay calm during emotional conversations so others feel psychologically safe. Remember that difficult behavior often hides pain, fear, or insecurity underneath. Develop empathy by recognizing that every person carries invisible emotional struggles. The chapter Power, Intimacy, and the Animal Circle introduces one of the most fascinating and practical concepts in the entire book. The authors explain that human behavior during communication can often be understood through two invisible forces constantly shaping interactions: power and intimacy. Every conversation, relationship, argument, friendship, workplace interaction, or social situation is influenced by these two emotional dimensions. Some people naturally seek control and dominance during conversations, while others seek closeness, emotional connection, or safety. The balance between power and intimacy silently determines how people behave, react, trust, cooperate, or conflict with one another. To make this easier to understand, the book introduces an animal circle, a behavioral framework inspired by instinctive survival patterns seen in both animals and humans. The authors explain that under pressure, stress, fear, insecurity, or emotional tension, people tend to fall into predictable communication styles represented by different animal behaviors. These patterns are not random personality quirks. They are survival responses deeply connected to emotional safety, control, and connection. The chapter begins by explaining the concept of power. Power in communication is not always aggressive or negative. At its healthiest level, power helps people create structure, confidence, leadership, and boundaries. But when driven by insecurity or fear, power can become controlling, intimidating, manipulative, or emotionally distant. Some people try to dominate conversations because dominance makes them feel safe. Others become controlling in relationships because uncertainty creates anxiety for them. The authors emphasize that many people unconsciously chase power not because they are strong, but because they fear vulnerability. Now imagine a workplace meeting where one manager constantly interrupts others, dismisses opinions quickly, and insists on controlling every detail. On the surface, that person may appear highly confident, but beneath the behavior may lie a deep fear of failure, loss of authority, or appearing weak. The book repeatedly reminds readers that behavior often hides emotional needs. People who appear the most controlling are sometimes the people who feel the least emotionally secure internally. On the opposite side is intimacy, the human desire for emotional closeness, trust, understanding, and connection. Intimacy is not limited to romance. It exists in friendships, families, teams, and even short conversations where people feel emotionally safe and understood. Human beings naturally crave intimacy because emotional connection creates security and belonging. However, intimacy also requires vulnerability, and vulnerability can feel dangerous to people who fear rejection, embarrassment, or emotional pain. Imagine a friend opening up about personal struggles for the first time. That moment creates emotional intimacy because the person is allowing themselves to be emotionally seen. But many people instinctively avoid such moments because vulnerability feels risky. Some change the topic, make jokes, or emotionally shut down when conversations become too personal. The book explains that people often struggle between wanting intimacy and fearing it at the same time. The animal circle framework becomes especially powerful because it explains how people move between power and intimacy depending on emotional situations. Under stress, people often default to instinctive behavioral modes. These behaviors are represented through animal archetypes that make human psychology easier to understand and remember. For example, some people react to emotional discomfort by becoming dominant and aggressive, like predators protecting territory. Others withdraw emotionally and avoid conflict completely, similar to prey animals trying to stay safe. Some become highly social and emotionally expressive to maintain harmony and connection. Others attempt to control environments through authority and structure. These patterns are not always conscious choices. They are emotional survival strategies developed over time. One fascinating example described in the chapter involves family dynamics during arguments. Imagine a father who becomes loud and controlling whenever conflict appears in the household. He believes that taking control quickly will solve problems. Meanwhile, one child becomes silent and withdrawn during tension because they learn that staying invisible feels safer. Another family member tries to calm everyone emotionally and restore harmony. Each person is responding differently based on their emotional relationship with power and intimacy. Without understanding these patterns, families often misunderstand each other completely. The authors explain that conflict often occurs when different behavioral styles collide. A highly controlling person may see emotional sensitivity as weakness, while emotionally expressive individuals may see control-focused behavior as cold or intimidating. A conflict-avoidant person may frustrate someone who values direct confrontation. These misunderstandings are common because people assume others process emotions and communication the same way they do. The chapter also explores how childhood experiences influence power and intimacy patterns later in life. A child raised in an unpredictable or emotionally unsafe environment may grow up craving control because control feels safer than vulnerability. Someone constantly criticized as a child may avoid emotional intimacy out of fear of rejection. Others may become people pleasers because gaining approval became their survival strategy growing up. The authors emphasize that adult communication patterns often have deep emotional roots formed years earlier. One particularly relatable example involves romantic relationships. Imagine one partner needing frequent emotional reassurance and closeness while the other becomes emotionally distant during stress. The first partner may interpret distance as rejection, while the second partner sees emotional withdrawal as self-protection. Both people may genuinely care about each other, yet their survival patterns create repeated conflict. The book argues that understanding these behavioral patterns creates empathy and dramatically improves communication. The chapter repeatedly reminds readers that no behavioral style is completely good or bad. Each pattern has strengths and weaknesses. A power-focused person may provide leadership and decisiveness but struggle with emotional openness. A connection-focused person may create warmth and empathy but struggle with boundaries or confrontation. The goal is not to eliminate instincts but to become conscious of them. Self-awareness allows people to choose healthier responses instead of reacting automatically from fear or emotional conditioning. Another major lesson in this chapter is that emotionally intelligent people learn to balance power and intimacy. Healthy communication requires both strength and connection. Too much power without intimacy creates fear and emotional distance. Too much intimacy without boundaries can create chaos, dependence, or lack of respect. The strongest communicators know how to remain emotionally open while also maintaining confidence and self-control. The authors also discuss how social environments influence behavior. Some workplaces reward dominance and competition, encouraging people to suppress vulnerability. Some families discourage emotional honesty, teaching members to hide feelings. In other environments, emotional openness may be encouraged while assertiveness is criticized. Over time, people adapt their communication styles to survive socially, but these learned behaviors can later create relationship struggles if left unexamined. One powerful idea explored in the chapter is that people often misunderstand their own emotional motivations. Someone may believe they are just being direct while actually communicating from insecurity or fear. Another person may believe they are keeping the peace while actually avoiding difficult conversations because conflict terrifies them. The book encourages readers to examine the emotional needs beneath their behavior honestly. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that the animal circle is not about labeling people permanently. Human beings move between different behaviors depending on stress, relationships, environments, and emotional safety. A confident leader at work may become emotionally avoidant in relationships. A socially warm person may become controlling when anxious. Understanding this flexibility helps readers avoid oversimplifying themselves or others. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Every human interaction contains an invisible negotiation between power and intimacy. People are constantly balancing the need for control, safety, independence, acceptance, and emotional connection. Those who understand these invisible forces become far more skilled at communication because they stop reacting only to behavior and begin understanding the emotional needs driving it. Main points. A human communication is strongly influenced by power and intimacy. Power relates to control, confidence, boundaries, and authority. Intimacy relates to emotional connection, trust, and vulnerability. People often adopt instinctive behavioral styles during stress. The animal circle explains emotional survival patterns in communication. Conflict frequently occurs when different behavioral styles clash. Childhood experiences shape adult communication and relationship patterns. Emotional intelligence requires balancing strength and emotional openness. People often misunderstand the emotional reasons behind their own behavior. Understanding hidden emotional needs improves empathy and relationships. Reflective questions. During stressful situations, do you seek control or emotional connection? How do you usually react to conflict, aggression, withdrawal, people-pleasing, or calm communication? What emotional behaviors did you learn growing up? Do you struggle more with vulnerability or with maintaining boundaries? Or are your communication habits driven by confidence or hidden fear? How do your emotional patterns affect relationships around you? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Observe how you behave during emotional stress or conflict. Or practice balancing confidence with empathy during conversations. Or learn to recognize emotional survival patterns in yourself and others. Or avoid judging people only by surface behavior. Look for emotional needs underneath. Develop healthier communication habits instead of reacting automatically. Build emotional awareness around your relationship with control and vulnerability. Or during arguments, focus on emotional understanding rather than winning. Practice emotional honesty while maintaining healthy boundaries. Reflect on how childhood experiences may still influence your reactions today. Or create relationships where both emotional safety and mutual respect can exist together. The chapter The T-Rex, Conflict or Aggression, explores one of the most intense behavioral patterns in human communication, the instinct to dominate, defend, and overpower during moments of conflict. The authors use a T-Rex metaphor to describe people who, under emotional pressure, tend to become aggressive, controlling, or confrontational, just like a T-Rex reacting to a threat. This behavioral mode is not always about true danger, but about perceived emotional danger. When people feel disrespected, ignored, challenged, or insecure, they may shift into a T-Rex state where logic weakens and emotional survival takes over. The chapter begins by explaining that aggression in communication is rarely about pure anger alone. Instead, it is often a protective response. People do not become aggressive randomly. They become aggressive when they feel something important is being threatened. That threat might be their ego, reputation, authority, respect, identity, or sense of control. For example, imagine a manager in a meeting who suddenly raises their voice when someone questions their decision. On the surface, it looks like anger, but beneath it may lie fear of losing authority or appearing incompetent in front of others. The book emphasizes that understanding aggression requires looking beyond behavior into emotional triggers. One of the key insights in this chapter is that T-Rex behavior is often triggered by insecurity rather than strength. Many people assume aggressive individuals are naturally powerful, but the authors challenge this belief. In many cases, aggression is a reaction to feeling powerless inside. When someone feels emotionally threatened, they may try to regain control through dominance. This can appear in arguments where a person interrupts constantly, refuses to listen, raises their voice, or tries to win the conversation instead of understanding it. Imagine a couple arguing about a small issue like household responsibilities. One partner starts raising their voice, using sharp words, and insisting they are right. Instead of listening, they focus on proving their point. The other partner may become defensive or emotionally shut down. The actual issue is no longer about chores. It has transformed into a struggle for emotional control. The T-Rex response has taken over the conversation, turning a simple disagreement into a conflict of power and emotion. The authors explain that T-Rex behavior often follows a predictable pattern. First, a person feels emotionally triggered. Second, they interpret the situation as a threat. Third, their emotional brain overrides their rational thinking. Finally, they respond with dominance or aggression to regain control. This process can happen in seconds, which is why many people regret what they say during arguments. Once the emotional reaction passes, logic returns, but damage may already be done. A powerful example in the chapter involves workplace conflict. Imagine two co-workers working on a project. One believes the other made a mistake that caused delays. Instead of calmly discussing it, one co-worker says, "You always mess things up." The word "always" immediately escalates the situation. The second co-worker feels attacked and responds defensively. Soon, the conversation is no longer about solving a problem, but about defending identity. The book explains that T-Rex communication often turns specific issues into personal attacks, which makes resolution almost impossible. The chapter also explores how past experiences shape aggressive behavior. Someone who grew up in an environment where they were constantly criticized or ignored may develop a defensive communication style. For them, being challenged can feel like being attacked. As a result, even neutral feedback may trigger a strong emotional response. The authors emphasize that aggression is often learned behavior, not fixed personality. This means it can be understood, managed, and changed with awareness. Another important idea is that T-Rex behavior creates emotional distance in relationships. While aggressive individuals may believe they are being strong or clear, others often feel unsafe, unheard, or disrespected around them. Over time, people begin avoiding honest conversations with aggressive communicators because they fear conflict. This leads to emotional disconnection, misunderstandings, and weakened relationships. Even when the intention is to be right or efficient, the result is often emotional isolation. The chapter also introduces the idea that conflict is not always negative. Conflict itself is neutral. It becomes harmful only when handled through aggression instead of understanding. Healthy communication allows disagreement without emotional destruction. However, T-Rex behavior turns disagreement into competition, where the goal becomes winning rather than understanding. The authors challenge readers to ask themselves whether they want to be right or want to maintain connection. One relatable scenario described is within friendships. Imagine a situation where one friend feels hurt because another friend canceled plans. Instead of expressing feelings calmly, the hurt friend says, "You never care about me." The other friend immediately becomes defensive, and the conversation escalates into accusations. The original issue disappears, replaced by emotional tension. The book explains that T-Rex responses often exaggerate reality because emotional pain amplifies perception. The authors also explain that body language plays a major role in T-Rex behavior. Aggressive posture, intense eye contact, pointing fingers, raised voice, and fast speech all signal emotional intensity. These signals often increase tension in conversations, even if words alone seem reasonable. People instinctively respond to emotional energy more than verbal content. This is why even logical arguments can fail when delivered with aggression. A key lesson in this chapter is that awareness is a first step toward change. Many people do not realize when they enter T-Rex mode. They believe they are simply expressing themselves honestly, but in reality, they may be overwhelming others emotionally. The authors encourage readers to recognize early signs of emotional escalation, such as tightening in the chest, faster speech, irritation, or the urge to interrupt. Recognizing these signals allows individuals to pause before reacting. The chapter also highlights how T-Rex behavior can be replaced with emotional regulation. Instead of reacting instantly, a person can pause, breathe, and reframe the situation. For example, instead of saying "you are wrong," a calmer response might be "help me understand your perspective." This shift reduces emotional threat and opens space for dialogue instead of conflict. The book emphasizes that communication is not about suppressing emotion, but about expressing it in a controlled and constructive way. Another important insight is that aggression often masks deeper emotions such as fear, embarrassment, disappointment, or insecurity. People rarely express these emotions directly because they feel vulnerable. Instead, they convert them into anger because anger feels more powerful and protective. Understanding this hidden layer helps reduce judgment and improves empathy during difficult interactions. As the chapter continues, it becomes clear that T-Rex behavior is not limited to certain types of people. Anyone can fall into this pattern during stress, frustration, or emotional pressure. Even calm individuals may become aggressive when deeply triggered. The difference lies in awareness and control. The more aware someone becomes of their emotional patterns, the easier it becomes to choose a better response. The chapter ends with a powerful realization: aggression does not build respect in the long term. It may create short-term compliance, but it often damages trust and emotional connection. True communication strength lies not in overpowering others, but in staying calm, understanding emotions, and maintaining clarity even during disagreement. The ability to control T-Rex reactions is one of the most important skills for improving relationships, leadership, and personal communication. Main points. T-Rex behavior represents aggressive, defensive, and controlling communication under stress. Aggression is often a response to perceived emotional threat, not true danger. Many aggressive reactions come from insecurity rather than strength. Conflict escalates when conversations turn into emotional power struggles. Past experiences strongly influence aggressive communication patterns. T-Rex behavior damages trust and creates emotional distance in relationships. Conflict becomes destructive when winning is prioritized over understanding. Body language intensifies emotional reactions during communication. Awareness is a first step to controlling aggressive responses. Aggression often hides deeper emotions like fear, insecurity, or vulnerability. Reflective questions. Do you become more controlling or aggressive during stressful conversations? What situations trigger your emotional reactions most strongly? Are you trying to understand others during conflict or trying to win arguments? How do people usually feel after conversations with you during disagreements? Do you notice early signs of emotional escalation in yourself? Or are your reactions driven by logic or emotional threat? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Pause before responding during emotional conversations. Notice early physical signs of anger or irritation. Replace blaming statements with curiosity-based questions. Focus on understanding instead of winning during disagreements. Use calm tone and control body language in conflict situations. Identify whether your reaction is driven by fear, insecurity, or logic. Practice breathing or pausing techniques before responding. Avoid using absolute language like always and never during arguments. Acknowledge emotions before addressing problems. Train yourself to stay calm even when conversations become tense. The chapter The Mouse, Capitulation or Avoidance explores a very different but equally powerful communication survival pattern, the instinct to avoid conflict by submitting, withdrawing, staying silent, or giving in even when it goes against one's own thoughts or emotions. The authors use a mouse metaphor to describe individuals who, under emotional pressure, shrink away from confrontation instead of facing it directly. Just like a mouse that survives by staying unnoticed, this behavioral style is driven by the desire to remain safe by avoiding tension, disagreement, or emotional risk. While this approach may seem peaceful on the surface, the chapter reveals that constant avoidance can quietly damage relationships, self-respect, and emotional authenticity over time. The chapter begins by explaining that mouse behavior is not weakness in the traditional sense, but a learned survival strategy. Many people develop avoidance patterns because, in their past experiences, expressing disagreement or emotion may have led to punishment, rejection, humiliation, or conflict escalation. As a result, the brain learns a simple rule: staying silent feels safer than speaking up. For example, imagine an employee in a workplace who consistently disagrees with their manager's decisions but never voices their opinion. On the surface, they appear cooperative and easygoing, but internally, they may feel frustration, resentment, and emotional disconnection because their thoughts are never expressed. Over time, this silence builds invisible emotional pressure. One of the key insights in this chapter is that mouse behavior often creates a false sense of peace. On the outside, there may be no conflict, no arguments, and no visible tension. But underneath, unresolved emotions accumulate. The authors explain that avoiding conflict does not eliminate problems, it simply postpones them. For example, in relationships, one partner may consistently avoid difficult conversations to maintain harmony. They might say it's fine even when something is clearly bothering them. At first, this keeps things calm. But over time, unspoken emotions turn into emotional distance, resentment, and misunderstanding. Imagine a friendship where one person constantly feels overlooked but never expresses it. Each time they feel hurt, they suppress it to avoid awkward conversations. Eventually, small disappointments stack up silently. When a final triggering moment happens, all the suppressed emotions may subtly explode, often surprising the other person who thought everything was fine. The book emphasizes that mouse behavior often delays conflict, but increases its emotional intensity when it finally surfaces. The authors also explain that avoidance can appear in many subtle forms. It is not always complete silence. Sometimes it shows up as agreeing too quickly, changing opinions based on others' reactions, avoiding eye contact during disagreements, or using humor to deflect serious topics. Some people become overly agreeable in conversations, not because they genuinely agree, but because disagreement feels uncomfortable. Others withdraw emotionally during tension, shutting down instead of engaging. These patterns may appear harmless, but they slowly reduce authenticity in communication. A powerful example in the chapter involves family dynamics. Imagine a child growing up in a household where expressing disagreement leads to anger or punishment. Over time, the child learns that silence is safer than honesty. As an adult, they may struggle to express their needs in relationships. Even when they feel unhappy, they might say, "I'm okay," to avoid potential conflict. Their partner may believe everything is fine, while internally the person is struggling emotionally. The book highlights that mouse behavior often creates emotional invisibility, where a person's real thoughts and feelings are never fully seen. The chapter also explores how mouse behavior affects self-respect. When people constantly avoid expressing their thoughts, they begin to disconnect from their own identity. They stop practicing emotional honesty and start prioritizing external approval over internal truth. For example, someone may agree to plans they do not want to attend, accept unfair treatment at work, or stay silent during disrespectful situations simply to avoid discomfort. Over time, this creates a pattern where others unknowingly begin making decisions for them. The authors explain that avoidance slowly transfers control of one's life to others. Another important insight is that mouse behavior often comes from fear of conflict escalation. Many individuals believe that speaking up will automatically lead to arguments, rejection, or emotional damage. While this fear may come from past experiences, the book explains that not all conflict is destructive. In fact, healthy communication often requires respectful disagreement. Avoiding all conflict prevents emotional growth and deeper understanding in relationships. The problem is not conflict itself, but how it is handled. Imagine a scenario in a romantic relationship where one partner feels emotionally neglected. Instead of expressing it, they stay silent, hoping things will improve on their own. The other partner, unaware of the issue, continues behaving normally. Over time, emotional distance increases. Eventually, the silent partner may feel so disconnected that they consider leaving the relationship without ever having communicated the real issue. The book explains that mouse behavior often protects short-term comfort, but damages long-term connection. The authors also highlight that avoidance does not only affect relationships with others, but also the relationship with oneself. When people consistently suppress their thoughts and emotions, they begin to lose clarity about what they truly want. They may struggle with decision-making, confidence, and self-expression. This internal confusion can lead to frustration, anxiety, and a sense of being stuck in life. The book emphasizes that emotional expression is not just about communication with others, but also about maintaining internal psychological balance. One of the most important lessons in this chapter is that mouse behavior is often mistaken for kindness. Many people believe that avoiding conflict means being peaceful, respectful, or easy to get along with. However, the authors challenge this belief by explaining that true kindness includes honesty. Avoiding difficult conversations may protect others from discomfort in the short term, but it can also lead to misunderstanding, resentment, and emotional disconnection in the long term. Real kindness involves respectful honesty, not emotional silence. The chapter also explains that mouse behavior is reinforced by social approval. In many environments, people who avoid conflict are seen as calm, polite, and cooperative. As a result, avoidance is often rewarded socially. However, this external approval can come at the cost of internal emotional suppression. The book encourages readers to question whether their communication style is based on genuine emotional expression or learned social expectations. A relatable workplace example is when an employee consistently accepts extra tasks without objection, even when they are overwhelmed. They fear that saying no might disappoint others or damage their image. Over time, they become overworked and emotionally exhausted. Meanwhile, others assume they are comfortable with the workload because they never express dissatisfaction. This cycle continues until burnout or frustration becomes unavoidable. The book highlights that unspoken boundaries often lead to emotional imbalance. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that mouse behavior is not about avoiding all peace, but about avoiding discomfort at the cost of truth. The authors emphasize that emotional growth requires the ability to tolerate temporary discomfort in order to achieve long-term clarity and connection. Speaking up respectfully, setting boundaries, and expressing emotions are essential parts of healthy communication. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Silence is also a form of communication. What is not said still influences relationships, often more strongly than words. Avoidance may feel safe in the moment, but over time it creates emotional distance, misunderstanding, and internal frustration. True emotional strength lies not in avoiding conflict, but in expressing oneself with clarity, respect, and courage. Main points. Mouse behavior represents avoidance, silence, and emotional withdrawal during conflict. Avoidance is often a learned survival strategy, not a personality trait. Suppressed emotions accumulate and eventually create stronger conflict later. Mouse behavior creates false peace while hiding emotional tension underneath. People who avoid conflict often lose emotional authenticity and self-expression. Avoidance can lead to emotional invisibility in relationships. Fear of conflict often prevents healthy communication and boundaries. Silence can damage relationships just as much as aggression. Avoidance may be socially rewarded but emotionally harmful long-term. Honest communication is necessary for emotional clarity and connection. Reflective questions. Do you often avoid expressing your true thoughts to keep peace? Are there emotions you regularly suppress to avoid conflict? How often do others truly understand how you feel? Do you feel emotionally heard in your relationships or mostly silent? Are you avoiding discomfort or avoiding necessary honesty? Has silence ever created bigger problems in your life later? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Practice expressing your thoughts calmly instead of suppressing them. Learn to say no respectfully when needed. Identify situations where you stay silent out of fear rather than choice. Start small by sharing honest opinions in low-risk conversations. Set clear emotional boundaries in relationships and work. Understand that temporary discomfort leads to long-term clarity. Avoid using silence as a default response during conflict. Communicate feelings early before they build into resentment. Balance kindness with honesty in all interactions. Remember that healthy communication requires both expression and respect. The chapter The Lion Controller Leadership explores a communication style of individuals who naturally take charge, guide situations, and assume responsibility in interactions. The authors use a lion metaphor to describe people who step into leadership roles during conversations, conflicts, or decision-making moments. Unlike the aggressive T-Rex or the avoiding mouse, the lion is not driven purely by emotional fear, but by structure, responsibility, direction, and control. However, the chapter also makes it clear that lion behavior can exist in both healthy and unhealthy forms. When balanced, it becomes leadership. When distorted by insecurity, it becomes dominance, rigidity, or emotional control. The chapter begins by explaining that lion behavior is rooted in the human need for order and certainty. Some individuals feel uncomfortable in chaotic, unclear, or emotionally unstable situations. As a result, they naturally try to organize, structure, and direct conversations or environments. For example, imagine a group project where no one is taking responsibility. While others hesitate or remain passive, one person steps in, assigns tasks, and pushes a group forward. This is lion behavior in its constructive form. It brings clarity where confusion exists and direction where uncertainty dominates. The authors emphasize that true leadership is not about controlling people, but about creating stability. A healthy lion understands that leadership involves guiding others, not overpowering them. In contrast, an unhealthy lion confuses leadership with dominance. For instance, imagine a team leader who insists that their ideas are always correct, refuses feedback, and shuts down alternative opinions. Although this may look like confidence, it often creates fear, resistance, and emotional distance within the team. People may follow instructions, but they stop contributing ideas freely, which reduces creativity and trust. One of the most important insights in this chapter is that lion behavior often emerges during moments of uncertainty or stress. When situations become unclear, some individuals feel a strong urge to take control. This is not always about ego. It is often about reducing anxiety. Control provides a sense of safety for people who dislike unpredictability. However, the authors warn that excessive control can unintentionally suppress others, making them feel unheard or undervalued. Imagine a family scenario where one parent insists on making all decisions without discussion. From planning finances to deciding daily routines, everything is controlled by one person. While the intention may be to maintain stability, other family members may begin to feel emotionally disconnected or powerless. Over time, this can create tension, even if open conflict is not visible. The book explains that control without emotional inclusion leads to compliance, not connection. The chapter also explores how lion behavior is often linked to responsibility. Many people with this communication style feel deeply responsible for outcomes, which drives them to take charge. For example, in a crisis situation, such as a project failure at work or a sudden problem in a group, lion personalities tend to act quickly, organize responses, and take decisions under pressure. This ability can be highly valuable in leadership roles, emergency situations, or environments that require fast thinking. However, the authors highlight a critical balance. Leadership requires both direction and listening. A lion who only directs but never listens risks becoming disconnected from the needs of others. True leadership is not just about giving instructions, but about understanding the people being led. For example, a manager who listens to employee concerns while still guiding the team forward creates trust and respect. On the other hand, a manager who only issues orders without emotional awareness may achieve short-term results but lose long-term loyalty. A relatable example in the chapter involves friendships. Imagine a friend group planning a trip. One person takes charge, decides a destination, books everything, and sets a schedule. Initially, the group may appreciate the organization. However, if that same person never asks for input or dismisses suggestions, others may start feeling excluded. Even if the trip goes smoothly, the emotional experience may feel controlled rather than shared. The book explains that leadership without collaboration can reduce emotional connection. The authors also discuss how lion behavior can sometimes be misunderstood. People with strong leadership traits may be perceived as bossy, controlling, or intimidating, even when their intention is simply to bring order. This misunderstanding often occurs when emotional sensitivity is not balanced with leadership. A powerful idea in the chapter is that effective leaders adjust their communication style, depending on the emotional needs of others. They know when to lead strongly and when to step back and listen. Another key insight is that lion behavior becomes problematic when driven by insecurity. Some individuals use control not because they are natural leaders, but because they fear losing influence, respect, or stability. In such cases, leadership turns into rigidity. For example, a parent who insists on strict rules without flexibility may believe they are maintaining discipline. But children may interpret this as emotional distance or lack of trust. The book emphasizes that insecure control creates resistance, while secure leadership creates cooperation. The chapter also highlights the importance of emotional awareness in leadership. A strong leader is not only focused on outcomes, but also on emotional climate. They understand that people perform better when they feel respected, valued, and included. For instance, a project manager who acknowledges team effort, encourages input, and gives credit builds stronger motivation than one who only focuses on results. Emotional intelligence becomes a core part of leadership effectiveness. One of the most powerful lessons in this chapter is that leadership is not a fixed role. It is a situational behavior. A person may be a lion in one context and something completely different in another. Someone may take charge at work but avoid control in personal relationships. Or they may lead confidently in familiar environments but become uncertain in new situations. The authors encourage readers to see behavior as flexible rather than fixed identity. The chapter also explains that real leadership includes emotional responsibility. This means being aware of how your behavior affects others emotionally. A leader who raises their voice may unintentionally create fear. A leader who ignores feedback may create frustration. A leader who includes others in decisions creates trust and cooperation. Emotional responsibility is what separates effective leadership from simple dominance. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that lion behavior is most effective when balanced with empathy. Strength without empathy becomes control. Empathy without strength becomes hesitation. But when both are combined, communication becomes powerful and constructive. The authors encourage readers to develop awareness of when they are leading out of clarity versus when they are leading out of fear or insecurity. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Leadership is not about being above others, but about guiding situations with awareness, responsibility, and emotional intelligence. True lions do not need to dominate to be respected. They earn respect through clarity, fairness, consistency, and understanding. Leadership is not about controlling people. It is about creating environments where people can function effectively and feel valued at the same time. Main points. Lion behavior represents leadership, control, structure, and responsibility. A healthy leadership creates clarity, direction, and stability in uncertain situations. An unhealthy control leads to dominance, rigidity, and emotional disconnection. True leadership is about guiding people, not overpowering them. Emotional awareness is essential for effective leadership. Control often comes from a need for certainty and security. Leadership without empathy reduces trust and collaboration. Good leaders balance direction with listening and inclusion. Behavior changes depending on context and emotional environment. Real leadership includes emotional responsibility and awareness of impact. Reflective questions. Do you tend to take control or step back in group situations? Are you leading from confidence or from fear of losing control? Do people feel heard and included when you take charge? How often do you balance direction with listening to others? Does your leadership create trust or resistance? Are you aware of how your decisions affect others emotionally? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Practice listening before making decisions in group situations. Balance confidence with empathy when taking leadership roles. Encourage input from others instead of controlling every detail. Reflect on whether your need for control comes from clarity or insecurity. Give credit and recognition to people you lead or work with. Avoid dominating conversations. Aim for collaboration instead. Stay flexible and open to alternative ideas and feedback. Focus on creating trust, not just achieving outcomes. Develop awareness of how your tone and decisions affect others. Lead with clarity, respect, and emotional intelligence rather than dominance. The chapter The Monkey Cooperation Connection explores one of the most socially powerful and emotionally intelligent communication styles in the entire framework, the ability to build harmony, trust, cooperation, and emotional connection through social awareness. The authors use a monkey metaphor to describe individuals who naturally focus on relationships, group dynamics, emotional balance, and cooperation rather than conflict, dominance, or avoidance. Unlike the T-Rex, mouse, or lion patterns, the monkey does not primarily rely on aggression, withdrawal, or control. Instead, it seeks connection, inclusion, understanding, and mutual cooperation. However, the chapter also makes an important distinction. Monkey behavior is most powerful when balanced, but it can become problematic when it turns into excessive people-pleasing, over-adaptation, or loss of personal boundaries. The chapter begins by explaining that human beings are fundamentally social creatures. From an evolutionary perspective, survival depended not just on strength or intelligence, but on the ability to cooperate within groups. The monkey communication style reflects this deep human need for belonging. People with strong monkey tendencies are often naturally empathetic, socially aware, and skilled at reading emotional environments. They can sense tension in a room quickly, adjust their tone to match others, and help restore harmony during conflict. For example, in a group discussion where two people begin to argue, a monkey-type individual might step in calmly, redirect the conversation, and reduce emotional tension by acknowledging both perspectives. This ability makes them valuable in teams, families, friendships, and leadership environments. One of the key insights in this chapter is that monkey behavior is driven by the desire to maintain connection and avoid emotional separation. Many people who adopt this style are deeply sensitive to rejection, disapproval, or conflict. As a result, they often prioritize harmony over confrontation. Imagine a workplace scenario where an employee disagrees with their manager but chooses not to speak up because they fear damaging the relationship or being seen as difficult. Instead, they adapt, agree, and cooperate even when they internally disagree. On the surface, this behavior maintains peace. But over time, it can create emotional suppression and internal frustration if personal needs are consistently ignored. The authors explain that monkey behavior is at its best when it creates healthy cooperation without sacrificing authenticity. For example, a project team working under pressure may rely on a monkey-type member to maintain communication flow, ensure everyone feels included, and reduce misunderstandings. This person often acts as a bridge between different personalities, helping aggressive individuals calm down, helping avoidant individuals speak up, and helping controlling individuals soften their tone. In this way, monkey behavior becomes a stabilizing force in group environments. However, the chapter also highlights a critical risk: over-cooperation. When monkey behavior becomes extreme, individuals may lose their sense of identity in order to maintain approval from others. For example, imagine someone in a friendship group who always agrees with others' opinions, even when they personally feel differently. They may avoid expressing disagreement to prevent tension, but over time, they may feel invisible or unheard. The book explains that constant adaptation to others can slowly erode self-expression and create emotional imbalance. A relatable example appears in family dynamics. Imagine a child who grows up in an environment where harmony is highly valued and conflict is discouraged. This child may learn to suppress their own needs to keep others happy. As an adult, they might struggle to say no, avoid confrontation at all costs, and feel responsible for others' emotional well-being. While their intention is to maintain peace, they may unintentionally create relationships where their own needs are consistently overlooked. The chapter emphasizes that true connection requires both cooperation and honesty, not silence and self-erasure. Another important idea in the chapter is that monkey behavior thrives on emotional attunement. People with strong cooperative tendencies are often highly skilled at noticing subtle emotional shifts in others. They can detect discomfort, tension, or hesitation even without words. For example, during a conversation, they might notice that someone suddenly becomes quiet or changes tone, and instinctively adjust their communication to make that person feel more comfortable. This emotional sensitivity makes them excellent communicators, mediators, and relationship builders. The authors also explain that monkey behavior plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. While T-Rex personalities escalate conflict, mouse personalities avoid it, and lion personalities try to control it, monkey personalities aim to transform conflict into collaboration. Instead of focusing on winning or avoiding, they focus on finding common ground. For instance, in a disagreement between two friends, a monkey-type individual might say, "I think both of you have valid points. Maybe we can find a middle ground that works for both sides." This approach reduces emotional intensity and shifts focus toward cooperation. However, the chapter also warns that excessive focus on harmony can sometimes prevent necessary conflict from being addressed. Not all disagreement should be softened or avoided. Some conversations require honesty, boundaries, and clarity. If monkey behavior becomes too focused on pleasing everyone, important issues may remain unresolved. For example, in a workplace, avoiding honest feedback to maintain team harmony can lead to repeated mistakes or inefficiency. The book encourages readers to understand that real cooperation includes honest communication, not just emotional smoothing. The chapter introduces the idea that monkey behavior is strongest when combined with self-awareness and emotional boundaries. Healthy connection does not mean agreeing with everything or absorbing everyone's emotions. Instead, it means staying emotionally present while still maintaining personal identity. For example, someone may support a friend emotionally during a difficult time without taking responsibility for solving all their problems. This balance allows relationships to remain supportive without becoming emotionally overwhelming. One powerful scenario described in the chapter involves social gatherings. Imagine a group where different personalities are interacting. One person is dominant, another is quiet, another is emotional, and another is opinionated. The monkey-type individual naturally adjusts their communication style to ensure everyone feels included. They may encourage quieter individuals to speak, soften tension between conflicting opinions, and maintain a sense of group unity. Without such individuals, group dynamics can easily become fragmented or chaotic. The authors emphasize that monkey behavior is closely linked to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves not just understanding one's own emotions, but also understanding and responding appropriately to the emotions of others. Monkey personalities often excel in this area because they prioritize emotional harmony. However, the book reminds readers that emotional intelligence is most effective when combined with self-respect and assertiveness. Another key insight is that people with strong monkey tendencies often struggle with saying no. Because they value connection and fear disapproval, they may agree to things they do not want to do. For example, someone may accept extra responsibilities at work even when already overwhelmed, simply to avoid disappointing others. Over time, this can lead to stress, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. The chapter encourages readers to understand that saying no is not rejection of others, but protection of personal boundaries. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that monkey behavior plays an essential role in human society. Without cooperation and connection, relationships, teams, and communities cannot function effectively. However, the book also stresses that cooperation must be balanced with authenticity. True connection is not about constantly adapting to others, but about building relationships where all voices, including your own, are respected. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Connection is not about pleasing everyone, but about creating genuine emotional understanding between people. The monkey represents a bridge between individuals, but even bridges must have structure to remain strong. Healthy relationships require both empathy for others and respect for oneself. When balanced, monkey behavior becomes one of the most powerful communication styles for building trust, unity, and emotional connection in every area of life. Main points. Monkey behavior represents cooperation, emotional connection, and social harmony. Humans are naturally social and depend on cooperation for survival and relationships. Monkey personalities are highly emotionally aware and socially adaptive. A healthy monkey behavior builds trust, inclusion, and group stability. Excessive people-pleasing can lead to loss of identity and self-expression. A true cooperation includes honesty, not just harmony. Emotional intelligence is a core strength of monkey behavior. Monkey individuals often struggle with setting boundaries and saying no. Effective cooperation requires balancing empathy with self-respect. Connection becomes strongest when authenticity and understanding are both present. Reflective questions. Do you prioritize keeping others happy over expressing your true feelings? Are you able to say no when something does not align with your needs? Do people truly understand your opinions, or do you often stay silent? Are you maintaining harmony at the cost of your own emotional well-being? How often do you adjust yourself to avoid conflict or disapproval? Do your relationships allow space for both your voice and others' voices? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Practice expressing your honest opinion in low-risk conversations. Learn to say no respectfully without guilt. Balance empathy for others with respect for your own needs. Avoid over-adapting just to maintain approval or harmony. Encourage quieter voices in group settings while also sharing your own. Recognize when cooperation becomes self-sacrifice. Set healthy emotional boundaries in relationships and work. Focus on mutual understanding rather than constant agreement. Build confidence in expressing disagreement calmly and respectfully. Remember that true connection includes both honesty and empathy. The chapter Improving Rapport Building focuses on the practical skills needed to transform all the communication patterns discussed earlier into real-life social mastery. The authors explain that understanding personality styles, emotional reactions, and behavioral patterns is only the first step. True transformation happens when a person learns how to apply this knowledge in everyday conversations to build trust, reduce conflict, and create genuine emotional connection with others. Rapport building is presented as a dynamic skill, not a fixed trait, meaning anyone can improve it through awareness, practice, and consistent behavioral adjustments. The chapter begins by emphasizing a simple but powerful truth. People do not connect with logic first, they connect with emotion first. Before someone evaluates your ideas, opinions, or intentions, they evaluate how safe, respected, and understood they feel around you. This is why two people can say the same thing, but one creates trust while the other creates resistance. For example, imagine a situation where a friend is sharing a personal problem. One listener interrupts quickly with advice, trying to solve the issue immediately. The other listens quietly, acknowledges emotions, and only then responds. The second approach creates stronger rapport because it satisfies emotional needs before offering logic. One of the most important techniques discussed in this chapter is the concept of matching and mirroring. This does not mean copying others mechanically, but naturally aligning with their emotional state, tone, energy level, and communication style. For example, if someone is speaking calmly and thoughtfully, responding with aggressive energy can create distance. But if you match their calm tone and reflect understanding, they feel more comfortable and open. In a real-life scenario, a salesperson dealing with a cautious customer would not use high-pressure excitement, but instead adopt a calm, patient tone to build trust gradually. The authors explain that rapport is built through small micro-behaviors rather than dramatic actions. Simple actions like maintaining appropriate eye contact, nodding to show understanding, using a person's name naturally in conversation, and allowing pauses instead of rushing responses can significantly increase connection. For instance, during a job interview, a candidate who listens attentively and responds thoughtfully often leaves a stronger impression than someone who speaks quickly but ignores emotional cues. Another key insight in the chapter is the importance of validation. Validation does not mean agreeing with everything a person says. It means acknowledging their emotional experience as real and understandable. For example, If someone says, "I feel overwhelmed at work," a weak response would be, "You just need to manage your time better." A stronger rapport-building response would be, "That sounds really stressful, especially if the workload has been building up." The second response creates emotional safety, which is a foundation of trust. The chapter also highlights how poor rapport often comes from unconscious communication mistakes. Many people focus too much on expressing their own thoughts without considering how the other person feels. For example, in a disagreement, someone might immediately try to prove they are right. Even if their argument is logical, the lack of emotional awareness can damage connection. The book explains that winning arguments is often less important than maintaining relationships. A relatable scenario is in romantic relationships. Imagine one partner returning home after a stressful day and trying to express frustration. If the other partner immediately responds with solutions or criticism, the emotional need for understanding is ignored. However, if the response is, "That sounds like a really difficult day. Do you want to talk about it?" the emotional connection strengthens instantly. The chapter emphasizes that rapport grows when people feel emotionally heard before being corrected or advised. Another major focus is adaptability. Effective rapport builders adjust their communication style depending on the situation and the personality of the other person. For example, a direct and logical person may appreciate clear facts and structure, while an emotional and expressive person may respond better to empathy and storytelling. In a workplace meeting, a leader who adapts their communication style to different team members can create stronger collaboration and reduce misunderstandings. The authors also explain the importance of emotional pacing. Rushing emotional conversations often breaks rapport. People need time to process feelings before moving toward solutions. For example, during conflict resolution, immediately jumping to problem solving can feel dismissive. Instead, allowing emotional expression first ensures that both sides feel understood. Only after emotional clarity is established does logical discussion become effective. Another powerful idea in the chapter is that rapport requires genuine curiosity. Instead of assuming you already understand someone, effective communicators ask open-ended questions and show interest in the other person's perspective. For instance, asking "What was that experience like for you?" or "How did you feel when that happened?" encourages deeper emotional sharing. This transforms conversations from surface-level exchanges into meaningful interactions. The chapter also discusses the role of authenticity in rapport building. People can sense when communication is forced or manipulative. Trying too hard to impress others or using scripted techniques can backfire. True rapport is built when communication feels natural, honest, and emotionally aligned. For example, a friend who listens sincerely and responds genuinely will always build stronger connection than someone using rehearsed phrases without emotional presence. A key insight is that rapport is also influenced by emotional consistency. People trust those who behave predictably in emotional situations. If someone is kind one moment and dismissive the next, trust weakens. In contrast, consistent respect, patience, and understanding build long-term emotional security. For example, a manager who treats employees fairly and respectfully in both good and stressful situations creates a stable and trusting environment. The chapter further explains that misunderstandings in communication often come from mismatched emotional states. If one person is emotionally charged and the other responds coldly or logically, connection breaks. Rapport is strongest when emotional alignment is maintained. This does not mean agreeing with everything emotionally, but recognizing and acknowledging emotional states before responding. One real-life example involves social gatherings. Imagine meeting someone new who is shy and reserved. If you approach them with loud energy and rapid questioning, they may withdraw further. But if you slow down, speak calmly, and give them space, they are more likely to open up. The chapter explains that rapport is not about dominating interaction, but about creating comfort for communication to flow naturally. The authors also highlight that small mistakes in communication can break rapport quickly. Interrupting others, dismissing emotions, rushing conversations, or ignoring nonverbal cues can create distance. On the other hand, small positive behaviors like active listening, empathy, and respectful responses can build strong trust over time. Rapport is fragile at the beginning, but grows stronger through consistency. As the chapter progresses, it becomes clear that rapport building is a skill that improves every area of life, including friendships, relationships, leadership, sales, teamwork, and even conflict resolution. People who master rapport often find that others naturally open up to them, trust them faster, and enjoy communicating with them more deeply. The chapter ends with a powerful realization. Rapport is not about manipulation or persuasion, but about understanding human emotion at a deeper level. When people feel seen, heard, and emotionally safe, communication becomes effortless. Improving rapport is ultimately about becoming more aware of how others feel and adjusting your communication in a way that respects both their emotions and your own authenticity. Main points. A rapport is built through emotional connection, not just logic or words. People prioritize emotional safety before evaluating ideas or opinions. A matching tone, energy, and communication style improves connection. A validation of emotion strengthens trust and understanding. Small behaviors like listening and eye contact significantly affect rapport. Emotional awareness is more important than winning arguments. Adaptability improves communication with different personality types. Curiosity and open-ended questions deepen conversations. Authenticity is essential for genuine and lasting rapport. Consistency in emotional behavior builds long-term trust. Reflective questions. Do people feel emotionally safe when they talk to you? Are you listening to understand or listening to respond? How often do you validate emotions before offering solutions? Do you adapt your communication style to different people? Or are your conversations more logical or emotionally connected? Do people naturally open up to you or hold back? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Focus on listening fully before responding in conversations. Practice acknowledging emotions before giving advice or solutions. Match the tone and energy of the person you are speaking with. Use more open-ended questions to encourage deeper communication. Avoid interrupting or rushing emotional conversations. Be consistent in respectful and calm communication. Stay authentic instead of forcing social techniques. Pay attention to nonverbal cues like tone, pauses, and expressions. Build curiosity about people instead of assumptions. Prioritize emotional connection over winning discussions. The chapter conclusion, The Rapport Revolution, brings together everything explored in the book and transforms it into one unified realization. Human communication is not random, and it is not just about words, but about emotional patterns, behavioral instincts, and invisible psychological dynamics that shape every interaction. The authors describe this as a revolution because once a person understands rapport at a deep level, they stop seeing communication as something chaotic or mysterious and start recognizing it as something predictable, learnable, and influenceable. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to either create connection or create distance, depending on how consciously one chooses to engage. The chapter begins by reminding readers that most communication failures do not happen because people lack intelligence, but because they lack emotional awareness. Two people can have the same conversation, use the same words, and still walk away with completely different emotional experiences. One may feel understood and respected, while the other feels dismissed or misunderstood. The difference lies not in what is said, but in how it is said, how it is received, and what emotional state is being triggered underneath the surface. For example, in a workplace discussion, a manager might believe they are being clear and direct, while an employee feels criticized and undervalued. The rapport revolution begins when people realize that perception is more powerful than intention. The authors emphasize that rapport is not a technique to manipulate people, but a skill to understand human emotional reality. When applied correctly, it creates trust, reduces conflict, and strengthens relationships in every area of life. For instance, imagine a disagreement between two friends. Without rapport awareness, the conversation may quickly turn into blame and defensiveness. But with rapport awareness, one person might pause, acknowledge emotions first, and then respond with curiosity instead of judgment. This simple shift can completely change the direction of the interaction from conflict to understanding. A major idea in this conclusion is integration. Throughout the book, different behavioral patterns were explored: aggression, avoidance, control, cooperation, leadership, and emotional connection. The final insight is that no single pattern is better than the others in all situations. Instead, effective communicators learn how to recognize these patterns in themselves and others and respond appropriately based on context. For example, in a high-pressure situation, leadership and structure may be necessary. In an emotional situation, empathy and listening may be more important. In group dynamics, cooperation may be essential. Rapport mastery is about flexibility, not rigidity. The chapter also highlights a powerful truth. People are always communicating something beyond their words. Tone, body language, emotional energy, timing, and responsiveness all contribute to how a message is received. For example, someone saying "I'm fine" can mean completely different things depending on their tone and behavior. One version may signal genuine calm, while another may signal hidden frustration or emotional withdrawal. The authors encourage readers to become more observant of these subtle signals because they reveal the real emotional layer beneath conversations. Another important concept in the conclusion is responsibility. Once someone understands rapport, they can no longer ignore the impact of their communication style. Every interaction becomes a choice between connection and disconnection. For instance, in a family argument, choosing to respond with anger may escalate tension, while choosing to respond with understanding may calm the situation. The book emphasizes that emotional responsibility is not about controlling others, but about controlling one's own contribution to the interaction. The chapter also explores how rapport transforms relationships over time. In friendships, it creates deeper trust. In romantic relationships, it reduces misunderstandings and emotional distance. In workplaces, it improves teamwork and cooperation. In leadership, it increases respect and influence. For example, a leader who consistently listens, validates emotions, and communicates clearly will naturally build stronger team loyalty than a leader who only focuses on results without emotional awareness. A relatable scenario in the chapter involves misunderstandings in daily life. Imagine someone arriving home stressed from work. Their partner immediately asks several questions or tries to solve their problems. Instead of feeling supported, the stressed person feels overwhelmed. With rapport awareness, the partner would first recognize the emotional state, offer calm presence, and allow space before engaging in problem solving. This shift from reaction to awareness is what defines the rapport revolution. The authors also stress that self-awareness is a foundation of all communication mastery. Before understanding others, a person must understand their own emotional patterns. Do they become defensive under criticism? Do they withdraw under pressure? Do they try to control conversations when anxious? Do they avoid conflict to maintain peace? These patterns influence every interaction. The conclusion encourages readers to observe themselves honestly rather than judge themselves harshly. Another key insight is that rapport is built in moments, not in grand gestures. A single moment of genuine listening, a thoughtful response, or an emotionally aware reaction can strengthen a relationship more than hours of casual interaction. For example, during a difficult conversation, simply saying, "I understand this is important to you," can instantly shift emotional tone and open the door for cooperation. The chapter also explains that mastery of rapport leads to better decision-making in social environments. Instead of reacting impulsively, individuals begin to respond thoughtfully. They stop escalating unnecessary conflict and start guiding conversations toward clarity and understanding. This does not mean avoiding truth or difficulty, but delivering it in a way that preserves connection. As the conclusion builds, the central message becomes clear. Rapport is not a social trick, but a way of seeing people more accurately. When someone understands emotional patterns, behavioral instincts, and communication dynamics, they stop taking everything personally and start seeing behavior as information rather than attack or rejection. This shift reduces stress and improves emotional stability in interactions. The chapter ends by reframing communication as a lifelong skill rather than a fixed ability. People are not good or bad at communication permanently. They are constantly learning, adapting, and improving. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to practice awareness, empathy, and emotional intelligence. The rapport revolution is ultimately about becoming more conscious in human interaction, leading with understanding instead of assumption, and choosing connection over misunderstanding. Main points. A rapport is based on emotional awareness, not just words or logic. A communication success depends on perception, tone, and emotional state. Different behavioral patterns must be understood and adapted to context. People communicate more through emotion than through language alone. Self-awareness is essential for improving communication skills. Every interaction is an opportunity to create connection or distance. A rapport improves relationships in all areas of life, including work and family. Emotional responsibility is key to healthy communication. Small moments of understanding have a big impact on relationships. Communication is a lifelong skill that improves with awareness and practice. Reflective questions. Do you focus more on what people say or how they feel when speaking? How often do you consider the emotional impact of your words? Do your conversations usually create connection or distance? Are you aware of your emotional patterns during communication? Do you respond to situations consciously or react automatically? How would your relationships change if you prioritized understanding over judgment? Actionable lessons you can apply in real life. Practice observing emotional tone before responding in conversations. Or focus on listening to understand rather than replying quickly. Become aware of your emotional reactions during communication. Or pause before responding in emotionally charged situations. Or adapt your communication style based on the emotional state of others. Acknowledge emotions before offering solutions or advice. Use curiosity instead of assumptions during misunderstandings. Improve relationships by prioritizing connection over being right. Treat every interaction as an opportunity to build rapport. Develop consistency in calm, respectful, and emotionally aware communication. And that brings us to the end of this audiobook journey through Rapport, the 4 ways to read people. If you take just a few ideas from this book, remember this. People are not always what they appear on the surface. Communication is driven by emotions more than words, and every interaction is shaped by patterns of behavior like control, avoidance, cooperation, leadership, and connection. When you learn to recognize these patterns, you don't just improve conversations, you completely change the way you understand people and relationships. Now the real question is, how will you use this in your own life? Will you stay the same in your conversations, or start noticing what lies beneath what people say? If you enjoyed the summary, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Visual Books for more deep book breakdowns like this, and comment below which part of the book impacted you the most.